This is important stuff that I tell other agents out there. I just say video is so important. Number one, because it's free. But number two, when you have a listing, I do a coming soon video, a just listed video, a just sold video, and a just closed video. So I have 4 lines of content that I put out there per property and then some. So I'll do open house videos as well.
You've made it easier for yourself by just committing to a process.
Yes. How important, Ryan, is consistency in this world?
Oh my gosh, especially for real estate agents.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Real Estate Is Show. I have a Facebook friend of mine. We've never met in person, Jason LaFlesch, here today. We've known each other for what, 10, 15 years on Facebook, but finally get to meet in person. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Appreciate you.
Now, what I know about you, and I don't know a lot, is you had a radio show for a really long time.
Still do.
How did you get into this radio game?
That's an interesting story. So I sold new homes from 94 through 04.
Okay.
So then beginning in about 2001 is when the investor craze started picking up in the Phoenix area.
What were the builders that you work for out there?
Continental Homes.
Okay.
So we were blowing through hundreds of homes, and that's back when we had to handwrite contracts. So my partner Carl and I mean, we'd be up every night writing 12 contracts a day and, selling anywhere from, 50 to 100 homes a month for a while until we ran out of product. So then there was the tallest realtor at the time in the Valley. His name was Brad Baird, and he ran a radio show called The Real World of Real Estate.
Okay.
So he heard about me and he said, Jason, I want you in on the show and, talk about what you do. I mean, all these homes that you're selling, the people that you're dealing with, what states they're coming from and all that. So I'd go in there and I'd be on his show and he would get, within an hour, he would get 13, 15, 16 calls, which he's never had that on his show. And they were like, I want to talk with Jason. I got a question for Jason. So anyway, he would invite me back several times. I was probably on there 8 to 10 times on his show. Well, then what happened when I wasn't on there for a while is listeners would call into the radio station, which was KKNT at the time, 960, and they'd say, when is Jason going to be on next? So then what happened, and this is kind of unheard of from what I understand in the radio business, is they called me up directly and said, we have a time slot for you and we have sponsors that will already cover. You don't have to pay a dime out of pocket to have your own show on our station.
How long did it take to make a decision to take that spot?
Right away.
You took it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because
I love being on that show and it was just fun. It was fun fielding calls and talking with people and letting everyone know.
What at the beginning, has it changed from like how it started back then to how it is today? Like what you talk about, or has it always been the same type of show?
It's the same type of show. We just kind of improv it. We have just bullet points on things we want to talk about. And typically, I run the show and then I have my lender partner that sits across the table. So we kind of co-hosting it.
Nice.
And then he'll bring one of his lenders in. I may bring one of my realtors in. Now, this is today's day and age.
Yeah.
And we would just have a roundtable discussion and just have a blast doing it and talk like but nothing was scripted. I think that's what makes for such a good show and why we've had listenership for 20 plus years now.
Wow. How has that affected your real estate business? Like what, do you get listings off it? Do you get buyers off of it? Do you build a team off of it? Like what, walk me through the value.
So the biggest value, it kind of gives you a little more street cred, if you will, hosting your own radio show.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have it on, printed material. It's nice to have it on your electronic signature, on your emails. When you're recruiting agents to be on the team, it's always nice to be able to tell them, hey, I can have you on the radio show, talk about your coming soon listings, talk about the open houses coming up. Yeah. And then of course sponsors. I mean, it's fun to just share the love with people coming on the show.
So like our younger generations aren't watching radios or listening to radio as much. So what are you doing to reinvent yourself in addition to the radio show to get yourself out there still?
Reinventing myself in addition to the radio show. Well, my main thing is I like to do a lot of video, just turn the camera on myself, post it on Facebook, on Instagram. And it's amazing the people, even like my sons and my daughter's friends in high school, I have triplets, they're 17. And they say, my friends love your videos. And it would be the furthest from my mind that an actual 17 or 18-year-old would love my videos talking about real estate and talking about different things. I talk about cars too. That's a lot of fun. It's one of my passions.
Do you go live or post or record videos and post them?
Both.
Okay.
So I do both.
I'm more comfortable with Facebook. I'm trying to get more comfortable with Instagram.
Yeah.
But for some reason, going live on Facebook has just always been more natural for me.
I think it's a blast. I mean, typically what I do, I'm like you, I post on Facebook, but then it automatically I have it to where it posts to Instagram. So then it gets out there, but it's just good content. And for my listings, I get a lot of feedback from people, and this is important stuff that I tell other agents out there. I just say video is so important. Number one, because it's free. It's easy to do. But number two, when you have a listing, I do a coming soon video, a just listed video, a just sold video, and a just closed video. So I have 4 lines of content that I put out there per property and then some. So I'll do open house videos as well.
What I'm hearing from you is you've made it easier for yourself by just committing to a process.
Yes.
And you've committed to that process. Every time you get a listing, I'm going to do these 4 or 5 videos.
How important, Ryan, is consistency in this world?
Oh my gosh, especially for real estate agents.
Absolutely. The one thing I learned, so my mom's been a licensed realtor she started in California in the Bay Area in 1980. My mom's very smart. She's taught me a lot of things on just kind of stay grounded in real estate, be full circled, get everything, dot your I's, cross your T's. The one thing that she told me that has stuck with me forever that and she's told me this 30 years ago, but it carries forward in today's day and age as far as keeping your name and your face out there. Remember back in the days when you would farm neighborhoods and pass flyers out? Mm-hmm. Okay. So she would have my brother and I passing flyers out for her when we were 10, 11, 12 years old in neighborhoods in the Bay Area. And she told me, she goes, Jason, when I take just 2 weeks off of not being in front of people, whether it's knocking on doors, doing flyers, she goes, my business slows down.
They forget about you.
They forget about you.
Well, and here's the reality. Brian Gubernick actually taught me this, is for a long time back in the day and through the last probably 20 years or so, it was all about building your list, building your database. Well, now everybody's on somebody's database already. Mm-hmm. In fact, most people they know a realtor. They're in someone's database. Today's day and age, it's about taking from other people's databases. Right. And how do you get in front of them more often to take them from someone else's database that's being touched? So, it's using new methods. So you're really good at Facebook. You've got your radio show. Have you ever thought about doing a podcast?
That's funny you ask that. Because radio, it's 21 years this year. It's the longest running real estate show in Arizona.
Wow. Longer than Carol Royce's.
Oh, yeah. So when I vacated my spot on KKNT, she took my spot and then left, and then I went back to my spot. Yeah. But 21 years. So it is the longest running real estate show. It's called the Real Estate Power Hour. But I've had just recently here, I've always kicked around doing a podcast, and I was going to do it from my house, bought nice microphones, bought the mixer. I mean, everything is sitting on my desk right now. Have never put it to work. But I had certain guests here recently on the show that when we're done, they said, Jason, you have to do a podcast. This radio thing's cool, but it is kind of passe. It's kind of old school a little bit. You don't get the listenership. I don't think
the 17, 18-year-olds that are coming into the market to buy houses are not listening to the radio.
Absolutely. 100% no. No, especially 960 AM. Yeah. It's not like it's an FM station. It's an AM station. Yeah. So usually a little more money, a little more affluent, but older crowd. They don't make moves nearly as quick. At least this listenership doesn't. But the podcast thing, so I've had several people as of recent say, you have to have a podcast. So now I'm looking into it, and we're going to kick it off here, I would say, within the next 6 months and just be rolling. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be dynamic. We're going to have great guests on like you have on your show. I mean, I see the wall of fame here. Really
so
cool.
Is your podcast going to be real estate agent focused, or is it for sellers, or what is it for?
That I don't quite know yet. I know we're going to talk real estate for sure, but I think it's going to be more about having bigger names in there, talking about their business, what got them there. So it's going to be a little more not only real estate and mortgage related, so kind of educational there, but maybe educational on how to get people, how we can get other business owners or other people to level up by hearing from people that have done it, literally from the ground up.
I don't mind sharing with you right here on the show so others can hear it too. Yeah. Another idea that somebody gave me that I chose not to implement, but is a decent idea, is to create a magazine, and then when guests come on, you transcribe the podcast into an article with the front page, with them on the front page. I mean, it's a next level type idea. Just takes a lot of money and effort, right? It's the radio, the podcast, and now a magazine. It was really hitting a lot of different avenues.
So let me ask you, would that be distributed to just, I'm imagining that would give the you would be making the magazine up, and then the person that was on your podcast would be buying them and can use those as marketing material. It's awesome.
Yeah, isn't that
I
a
think
cool
that's
idea?
a great idea.
So yeah, feel free to steal it. One of the reasons I was excited to have you on was is you've been doing real estate for what, 30 years?
30 years, yeah.
I mean, I even the wall of fame, as you talk about, a lot of the people on there are 15, maybe 20.
Yep.
Very few people other than my own mother who still holds a real estate, and my father. In fact, my father's probably the oldest realtor I know. He's had it since he was, let's see, probably 30, and he's 92.
Does he still do it?
He does. Well, he's a home builder, so he does ropes and communities.
Okay, yeah.
Sun Lakes, Pebble Creek. He probably worked.
Of course. Still involved, though?
He's still involved. Goes to work every day.
Wow.
It's the only reason he's still alive.
I was going to say it's when you stop working, the mind stop, that's really good. That's incredible.
I heard a study the other day. You hear all this weird shit. Like it talked about like it's the people that have too much stress that get dementia first. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. That just seems the opposite.
Yeah.
Because work has stress. Like even if you love what you do, and he loves home building, like he just has a passion, but you still experience stress.
Yeah.
I mean, people that you rely on that you're paying really well just quit or stop working as hard, and it gets stressful.
Yeah.
Right? People are people, and that's usually what causes stress in businesses.
You're right.
Anyways, with you, I don't know there's a handful of people in my life that have worked for more than 20 years in real estate, and you're one of them.
Yeah.
So, back at the beginning, you were doing the home building stuff. That's kind of where you really got your start, right?
Yes.
You figured that model out, ironically, before technology really existed.
Right.
Which is really cool. I love that. Like, I actually wish that I had gotten involved in business because I have the motivation to go hustle. Mm-hmm. John Perkinson's a mentor of mine. I don't know if you know John. He's a land guy. He said the way he made money is he'd go down to the county recorder's office. I mean, this is 40 years ago. Yeah. And he would look at where the big home builders were buying land. Mm-hmm. He'd like go through all the recording documents because it wasn't online. There was no internet.
Wow.
And he'd find out where they bought land, and then he'd go as fast as he could. He'd just be checking it almost every day or every other day, whatever. And he'd go to the neighbors and tie up the piece next to him.
That's smart.
But it's stuff like that.
That's next level smart. That's pretty cool.
It's hustle.
Yeah.
And
big time.
In a weird way, the internet and AI and everything, it's harder to hustle.
Yeah.
Now, you can still show up early and stay late and work hard.
Right.
But guys like you and me that have had kids and our kids are growing up, sometimes hustling isn't as important.
And I learned, back when they were born, back in late 06, I kind of had a mind shift a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be the $50 million man. I don't mind being the $5 million man. But I don't need to be the $50 million man. I can't take it with me. I want to provide for a very solid life for my family, get as debt free as possible, which took place a little bit just after they were born, and spend more time with them because I don't want any regrets. I don't want to look back and be like, I didn't spend enough time with my kids. I think that would just be a killer. That would hurt my heart, in the long run. No doubt.
So you made that decision back in 2006.
I did.
And we'll just touch on this briefly because I have some other questions I want to ask you. But at what point did you invest in Costa Rica?
Costa Rica, we started investing there at the end of 05 into 06, and then trying to make things happen into 07 as development was just beginning to start. But as we know, that's when kind of the market took a dive.
Yeah.
And that wasn't just Arizona, that was worldwide. It wasn't Arizona, it wasn't just Texas. Nope, it was absolutely worldwide.
There's a lot of people, even in the last year, that got caught with their pants down just with interest rates going up.
Yeah.
Not anywhere near what you went through, by the way.
Right.
But I mean, I was in Pine Top for New Year's, and there's this really cool development I've been watching for a good 12 years that has been sitting there. And a buddy of mine, my old business partner, bought it. And I went and looked at it, and he just timed it wrong. And it's not his fault.
Yeah.
He bought it a year ago.
Yeah.
Interest rates were 3% and
Right.
had this pro forma. And by the time he got the houses done and ready to list, interest rates were 7.5%. And you just get caught with your pants down.
Yeah. And that can happen. And that's what I tell people, like based on experience and being through a couple of the ups and downs in the markets, when I took that bad beat back in, 07, 08, and then kind of reinvented myself June of 09 when the market truly was at its bottom. A lot of people say, the bottom hit in 2011. No, it didn't. It was mid 09 that was literally the bottom of the market. Buying at the courthouse, and it was just amazing. But experience pays. When you see how people used hard money. They extended themselves. They just put their neck out there, leveraged themselves to the hilt, building spec homes, expecting the market not to pull back like it did in '07 and '08. It pulled back way further. I remember we bought several homes out in the East Valley, and we were up, just to give you an example, there was 3 Fulton homes almost right next to each other in Pecan Creek North that we bought in early '04 for $240,000 loaded. They're almost 4,000 square feet. Well, by the time they were built, by the end of '04, they were worth $475. So from $240 to $475. We kept them, we rented them out, and we're like, okay, the market's turning. What if they pull back 20%, 90 grand or so? Great. They're still worth $380. We're still in good shape.
Good, yeah.
Well, guess what? That home we bought for $240 that went to $475 went down to $140.
Wow.
Mid '09, they were $140. We never thought that would happen. Didn't see any of that coming. But yeah, back to your point. I mean, the people that, hard money, extending themselves, doing spec homes and all that, they got caught holding the bag.
And it's almost hard when your bartender or the waiter is telling you a story about how they just flipped a house and made $100 grand.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to think, wait a second, I'm in real estate. If they're doing it, I should be doing it.
Yeah.
Like, it's the wrong mentality. Because when they're doing it, you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
But it's like you start hearing stories of people making all this money flipping houses. And I remember that. Luckily, I had a W-2 job at the time. But I remember being jealous of all these people that I knew I was smarter and worked harder than, that were making what seemed like millions of dollars.
Right.
Right? On paper. That lost it all. They ended up going bankrupt.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I had a buddy, I still remember, it was late '06. He was making a killing. And at the time he lived in Los Angeles, and I was like, so what's your plan, in the future? Are you going to sell? What are you going to do? And he goes, I'm going to get out of the business and just watch and see what happens. So he did the smartest thing. He made a whole bunch of money, did nothing.
So hard to do that.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe it, but he timed it. And that's super, super rare to time a market like that. That's luck.
If I would have listened to my wife, she told me to stop flipping. I bought 3 more houses because I had been doing hundreds of flips a year. It was just so hard for me to finally let go. And in all honesty, I like people.
Yeah.
And I had really good contractors that were full-time with me.
Yeah.
And I felt bad stopping flipping.
Right.
And to the extent that it cost me $300,000. My wife told me to stop. I did 3 more. Interest rates went up. Lost $300 grand. It's crazy how fast that money, and I had pro forma'd out to make $1 million on that deal.
Yeah.
This is a year ago. This isn't '08.
Oh, okay. So this is recent.
This is recent.
Ooh.
Like, my point is like, it's hard because I'm sitting here feeling like we're telling people don't take risks.
Yeah.
But I think I'm actually curious. I don't want to give my opinion. I want to hear from you. What advice would you have to your son who, let's say, turns 25 and he's like, Dad, I want to start investing in real estate?
Well, I think the first investment you got to do is you got to buy your own home. Start there. Don't put the cart before the horse and start buying rentals before you buy your own home. And I also think it's smart that when you are young, I'm gonna even say that I want him to buy his own home, and I'm sure that Jennifer and I will assist him. But when he's 21 or going to college, and maybe we get you a 4-bedroom home, invest in it. You get 3 roommates that darn near cover the payment, if not cover the payment.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you kind of start. You start building that generational wealth at a young age. I wish I knew that. And what's crazy is both my parents were in real estate, so I've seen it, but I was never coached like that from them to buy something early on. So it took me to actually dive in and make the first move and do it, and I'm glad that I did at a young age.
What advice do you have for real estate agents? So the audience for this show are mostly real estate agents and top agents that want to get more involved in investing. With all your years of experience, right, of making it and losing it and making it.
Yeah. I think the number one thing is whether you're buying at auction, short sales, you're in competition, let's say, with others bidding on homes. The number one thing is you don't make your money on the sell, you make your money on the buy. It's very important to buy it right. And what I always said back in '09 when I was buying at the courthouse every single day is I noticed the new people coming to the courthouse. There were the original 5 or 6 of us there that knew each other. But then you get people coming in that would get caught up in what I called the hoopla back in the day. I said, they get caught up in the hoopla. It's exciting bidding on the houses.
It is.
But guys that know what they're doing, that do it every single day, we have our numbers down pat. We have multiple drivers out there driving the properties. We teach them how to get into vacant homes to get their eyes on it, you know.
I've been chased out of many homes by dogs
So
and
you know.
random homeless people.
Yes, so you know.
Yeah.
But it's so valuable to get your eyes on homes, to know what your approximate remodel numbers are. Because I know when people are bidding against me and they're brand new up at the courthouse trying to make a quick buck, because a lot of us make it look easy, is I know when they're going to lose their shorts, and they're gone as quick as they showed up.
You know, and that applies if foreclosures comes back, but also applies from buying from wholesalers.
Yes.
And it applies buying off the MLS.
Yeah.
Just because you see photos of a home is not the same of getting real numbers and understanding the fix up. I've noticed that the money's not only in the buy, but a lot of money is lost by estimating fix up wrong.
Oh, 100%. And think about over the last year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, even when COVID started, how much the cost of materials, labor, not only that, but the shortage of labor. So time is money, right?
Yeah.
You have in your mind, okay, I'm going to remodel this place within a month. Next thing you know, 3-4 months down the line, you're like, oh my God, right? Yeah. And then especially people coming in with hard money. So private money, they're spending a ton of money per month
10
just
to
carrying
15%. Yeah, it's expensive.
Dude, it can get scary quickly. Yep. So my whole thing now, and I'm a little more conservative the older I get, but I'm also debt free. So my whole thing now is I don't buy anything unless I could pay cash. Is it the right thing? Maybe, maybe not. A lot of people love leveraging. They love using other people's money. They love doing this, that, and the other. But for me, it's like I love ultimate cash flow. I love security now, being 52. You know, I just want more security, and it's worked for me.
Where does that come from? Oftentimes, you know, it comes from a spot where you've lost a lot of money, or growing up, your parents taught you that. Like, where does that fear of debt, and I mean that nicely, but like, where does that stem from?
Okay, when I first started real estate, I was not afraid of debt at all. Okay, I was like, okay, I'm making good money. I mean,
what could go wrong?
What could go wrong? I can afford it. I can make the payments, right? That's kind of the American dream nowadays. People, they'll have a $2,000 a month Ferrari payment, and they're like, oh, my job, I can afford it. I can afford it. Probably not the best financial decision to do, but what really straightened me up was when I lost a shitload of money in Costa Rica. I had newborn triplets. The market was turning. So newborn triplets. I had 2 teenage stepdaughters living at home. That's 5 people. I had 2 live-in nannies. That's 7. And then the wife and I. There's 9 people that I'm supporting at our house. Wow. I literally ran out of money. Scariest time of my life. Didn't know how I was going to come out of it until I told myself, okay, I already have this backing of investors. That my whole thing is now is that I'm not buying anything outside of my own backyard, meaning I know Arizona. I'm not going international anymore. I'll visit international, right? Yeah. Ryan, I'll visit your house over in Costa Rica. Go ahead. You know, I'll stay there. Leave a key under the mat.
I'll rent it from you.
Yeah, there you go. Right. But my whole thing now is staying in my own backyard, being conservative with it. I've lost all the money. And then I went back mid-09, started buying at the auction, and just started bankrolling again. And now we're where we want to be.
I call that having a really thought out buy box that you never leave.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've, for the most part, I've stayed within my own Arizona box also, where it's like I buy a house next to power lines, or a busy road, or a busy road, but there's a big dirt lot, and then a house, big dirt lot, then a busy road.
Yeah.
Every single time I lost money. I just say no from now on. And look, are there people that flip houses really well on busy roads?
Yeah.
Sure. But I will let them flip those.
There's plenty of product out there. There's plenty of opportunity out there. You just want to be available when the opportunity arises to make a quick move on it. That's the thing and not only that, you know, when you are buying with cash, typically you have a leg up on the competition when it comes to getting your offer accepted. Not only that, in most cases, whether it's commercial stuff that I bought cash, land that I bought cash, I mean, I bought investment opportunities all across the board. You can also, with cash, get that 10 to 20% kind of off built-in equity day one compared to a financed offer, and a quick close, because there's a lot of people that want to get out of their current situation sooner than later. Yeah. And when you can close on something within a week or so, it's powerful.
What advice do you have for realtors that have young kids
Yeah.
and are still in that hustle mode.
Yeah.
And in today's day and age, right now, with interest rates where they're at, in 2024 is supposed to be a good year. And I mean, we're supposed to have a rebound year this year with interest rates dropping.
Yeah. Best advice I can give is be efficient with your time. If your kids are before preschool age, okay, you still have the time to go out and hustle because, they're just kind of horsing around at the house, playing maybe at daycare or something like that. Who knows, right? Whatever your situation is. But once they're grade school age and all that, okay, you can hustle while they're at school. But if they're in sports, if they're doing plays, make yourself available because I'm telling you, it's good for your heart. It's good for your family to be around. Yeah. Because even though a lot of wives out there don't want to voice, their objections to you not being around, let's say.
Yeah.
Trust me, they're feeling it.
They're trying to support you.
They're trying to support, but it's really hard because being a mom I see what my wife has done. Even with we've had a live-in nanny now for 15 years.
Wow.
And which helps out tremendously, but still, when you have multiple kids, it is a ton of work. So try to be there for the family. I think it's going to pay off so you just don't have any regrets later.
So you are about to be an empty nester. Are you looking forward to it?
Yes and no. I think our daughter is going to go. She's getting looks from some big colleges. Notre Dame's one of them, which is huge.
Yeah.
So that would be huge. Both boys, I think, want to stay. I know Lucky wants to be a pilot, so we'll see what he wants to do. But I think they're leaning towards ASU.
Okay.
And hopefully they can wrestle for ASU, which would be nice.
So you got 2 years left.
Yeah.
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
You and your wife are alone. Do you like your wife that much to spend every day with her?
I wonder if she would tune into this. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Well, no, but we love having time too.
It was a trick question, but it's a very serious question.
Yeah.
I've got some good friends. I will not mention his name because we both know this guy. I know because he was really involved in the auctions.
Okay.
And when he became an empty nester, him and his wife struggled. And it's a real question, right?
Yeah.
Having kids
Yeah.
oftentimes is especially, I don't know, your wife and you might have had some struggles when you had your triplets because there's a big change in life,
Right.
financial issues.
Right.
But like going into empty nester, it's like, okay, it's just you and me every single day now.
Right.
Right. Now, sure, we still get involved in the kids sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's a different life you're about to enter into.
It is, and I think that is all about prep as well. So as you're growing older with your kids in the home, you have to have date nights. You have to have fun. You have to do things together, because if you don't, you're right. When the kids move out, you look at each other and be like, "Well, shit, what do we have in common? What have we done together?"
I don't know you.
I don't know you. Yeah,
I know work, and you know nurturing.
Right.
Like I talked to a guy who very like pulled me aside so his wife couldn't hear him, and he's like, "Hey, my kids left and my wife was the nurturer.
Yeah.
Now she just tries to nurture me." And I'm like, "Stop nurturing me."
Interesting.
She needed somebody to nurture.
Yeah.
His issue was his wife had no one to nurture and she didn't want to work at all. And he was frustrated because he wanted her to work and she just wanted to stay home. And
Yeah.
But there's nothing to nurture. Yeah. It's a really, ironically, I actually think it's a harder transition for women that stay home.
That's a good question you pose, though, because it really, I mean, that kind of segues in right from the, how much time are you dedicating and hustling in your work and being away from family. I think that the whole date night thing, traveling together, doing things together is very important, and it leads up to that when your kids do move out.
Do you guys have any hobbies you do
That's
together?
That's important, man. Our main hobbies, we love going out. So we're foodies.
Are you?
We love traveling, doing things like that.
Where are some of your best places you've been together?
One of our best trips that we've done, I didn't think it would be hers at all, was Alaskan fishing. So we have a buddy that owns yeah. So we have a buddy that owns, it's called Port Alexander. It's up in Port Alexander, Alaska, and it's called the Fisherman's Inn. So you fly into Sitka. He meets you there in his float plane. You load up groceries and stuff right there in Sitka, and then boom, 45 minutes, he flies you out in the float plane to this private cove. It's an unguided fishing tour, so it's just her and I in the skiff taking it out fishing, pulling up 100-pound halibut, fishing.
Wow.
Then Karen's making the food and she radios to you, "Hey, food's ready, we come in." Dude, it is the best. Anyone listen to this, if they want to do a fishing trip, just hit me up or DM me and I'll tell you exactly where this is. It is so worth it and so much fun, and you can bring home up to 200 pounds of fresh, flash frozen, packed fish. So we still have it.
I like to talk about family, and I like to talk about relationships, and I like to talk about kids, because it is truly what drives a lot of people and truly where a lot of people struggle.
Yeah.
their struggles are in that, and it could change the trajectory of your success.
Yeah.
By having the right kind of relationships with your kids and your family. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story on that.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for the questions, because it is good to hear these questions and think about it, and it just kind of hits right back home again and gets me straightened out, man. Yeah. Gets me straightened out. One of my downfalls is, and you've probably seen a bunch of my videos where my main thing is answering my phone. And yes, I do answer my phone. Yeah. And I answer my phone almost to a fault too. I've been on Valentine's night dinner where I get a call and I answer the phone.
My wife hates it.
Could be a deal. Yeah. But it's one of those things.
Money calling is what I tell my wife.
100%. And more often than not, it is. If it's a number I don't know and it's just kind of out of the blue, it's someone saying, hey, I got your name off the internet. I did a search. I'm looking at buying or selling. Guess what? It's a $15,000, $20,000 call. That's what affords us to go to nice dinners. But I can't say that every time, Dewar.
I'm going to look into the camera for this one. If you are a real estate agent, please answer your phone when somebody calls you. I joke because it's actually like an industry-wide thing where, like, I can't tell you how many deals I was trying to get done that if the person would answer their call, I would have gotten the deal done. They just don't like answering their phones for some reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, you are on the Real Estate Is show. I made this for you.
I love it.
Have you thought about what real estate is to Jason?
I have two answers.
Okay.
Real estate is, to me, it's passion, it's consistency, it's willpower. And the reason I say willpower is because so many people get into real estate and they don't have the willpower to work. Okay? They may go to lunch for an hour every day and be on their phone for 5 minutes.
Like resilience, right?
They just don't put in the work. It's When you work on your own, it takes willpower to get up, put your shoes on, do what you have to do to make money. That's why so many people get into real estate and they leave it just as quick, because they don't have the set hours. They don't have where you got to clock in and clock out, right? They don't have that discipline. Yeah. So I'm going to say passion, consistency is important, willpower, and then answer your phone. That is my I've had that line for years. And yes, and I look left and right.
So you liked when I looked in the camera and said that, because
yes,
it is important.
And you know why? Is because at the end of my videos, I say, and yes, and I look left and right because it's my own little secret. I do answer my phone. So that's that. But the real answer, real estate is generational wealth.
Let's use that.
Generational wealth.
Let's talk a little bit about it. You talked to me about the passion. Why did you choose generational wealth?
Generational wealth is, I'm experiencing it myself. You also see these LeSueur farms over in Gilbert, where the temple is and all that. So, that family they're generational wealth. So that family early on bought a whole bunch of land, farmed on it forever. There's a lot of big names out here, right, that buy real estate. And not only do they make money in the real estate that they own versus just renting a house their whole life, is they're able to pass down generational wealth. Whether it's in the form of real estate, just owning it in equity, or whether it's income renting items.
It's interesting. There are whole cultures for thousands of years, and probably in the last 300 or 400 years, you'll see this more likely, where there's been actual title. And I'm talking international real estate here, where the way the families stay alive is because they have the house paid off. Now, probably not a nice house in some of these areas. Yeah. But they just pass the house down, and the families just keep living there.
Yes.
It's that kind of concept, but on a scalable level.
Right. How cool would it be to, like for us, we have several Airbnbs all paid off. We have our house that's paid off. We have commercial land that's paid off. We have big chunks of land out in Parker, Arizona that's paid off. All this stuff is income producing. The income that we're collecting on it now because of real estate is being able to afford us to do club sports for our kids, get them decent clothes, things like that, right? So we're using it, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to pass this down when we're gone to our kids.
I love in this subject, 'cause I really, really like something that you mentioned at the very beginning that we didn't dive too far into. If you can give me a few minutes of time for this.
Sure.
Is you said you made a decision at some point in your life to be the $5 million man, not the $50 million man.
Right.
My wife and I have made the decision to live on $20,000 a month. I think it sounds a little pretentious maybe sometimes to say $20,000 a month, but we pay ourselves $20,000 a month and we live on that. Everything else is what we consider generational wealth. It's building, it's buying, it's paying off debt. It's, we're not completely debt free yet. Anyway, so give me your thoughts. It sounds like you connected with that when I said that. What are your thoughts on that idea of picking your number and sticking to it, no matter how much money you make?
So the reason that I came up with the 5 million is was thinking to myself, okay, if we are completely debt free and between all of our assets that we own, could be liquid assets, whether it's land, property, or whatever, minimum $5 million worth that we own outright. And of those assets, if we're bringing in at least $20,000 a month being debt free, I think that would afford us a very comfortable, stress-free life.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. I know on our commercial piece, we're going to be doing storage. We're going to be doing billboards off the highway. So there's a lot of things that we're looking at doing to where we should be able to achieve that $20,000 mark fairly easily, to be able to live as stress-free as possible, but not bust your ass to the detriment of your family and your health and your stress levels, and just keep working and working and working. I mean, I remember back in the day, I was making an absolute killing when we were flipping in 04, 05, 06. I was depositing $100,000 checks a week, closing 20 homes a week.
Yeah.
And it was crazy at one point there. But more money, more problems. I think there's a rapper a rapper or two that have said that in the past.
Yeah.
And just for me, I got too, how should I say it? I got a little wild with the money and buying things and leveraging things, which just added to a ton of stress. So that's why after we took our beating back in, 07, 08, into 09, I told my wife, I said, when we get debt free, which should be here soon, we will never have debt again. And that's it.
Can you imagine how many people that are listening to this show don't even have a number in mind? They don't know what their number is.
Yeah. And I'd say most people, right?
I don't know how you properly hit a target that you can't see.
Yeah.
Right. And, some people might think, well, if I don't have a goal, then that means I could hit 100,000 or 200,000 or 10X this or 10X that. And, I think happiness, and I see it with my own father, who is worth a lot more than 5 million, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like the level of happiness that I get being around that kind of money doesn't change that drastically from the $20,000 a month salary I live on. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
So, but being able to afford experiences is important to me.
Yeah.
Being able to travel is important to me. So but look, if crocheting is important to you, your number might be 10,000 a month. Yeah. I remember I bought a business recently, and the owner had told me, if I make $5,000 a month, I'm happy. And I almost laughed offensively, and I didn't mean it to be. Yeah. But it was like such a low number. I was like, I could never do that. Yeah. But for him, that was his number. And
it works.
He could do whatever he wanted. The activities that made him happy, he could do for $5,000 a month. Yeah. And I loved that, looking back on that, and how arrogant it was for me to question that number. So I appreciate you being on. I appreciate you taking the time and giving me a few extra minutes today to talk through that.
Man, I appreciate you having me on. And I'm just surrounded by greatness here with you and the wall of fame.